I think you've got a lot of e-commerce stores today where, you're buying, a jacket, and then when you check out, it says like, oh, did you know that we're going to plant some trees? Or like, did you know that you can give an extra £1 as a donation? But I think that kind of just gets lost in the noise these days because everybody's doing it. From an ethical perspective, I want to sell products that improve people's lives. I don't want to guilt people into buying things to be sustainable or buying things to give that they could give to charity to do that.
It's the e-commerce master plan podcast. Here to help you solve your marketing problems and grow your e-commerce business. Cutting through the hype to bring you inspiration and advice from the e-commerce sector and beyond. Here's your host, Chloe Thomas.
Hello and welcome. It's great to have you here. Thank you for hitting play and choosing to listen to one of our inspiring guests. A huge thanks to Paul Finch from the Amazon Sustainability Accelerator for introducing us to this brilliant guest in today's episode. Thank you, Paul. Much appreciated. In this episode, we are talking to the founder of a business which is hugely purpose-driven and hugely successful as well. They are both purpose-driven in terms of alleviating period poverty, but they are also purpose-driven in terms of their sustainability aims. They've done some fascinating things with product expansion, and it would be very fair to say she really knows where those purpose messages fit within her customer journey. There's loads of great advice and some brilliant top tips as well, so make sure you stick around to the very end. Have you yet downloaded our ebook? To celebrate reaching episode 500, we've created an epic e-commerce success-focused ebook for you, packed with 500 top tips about how to make your e-commerce store more profitable, featuring the advice of many past guests alongside industry experts and many of you as well, our listeners. I've checked every single tip and organised the whole thing into sections for you, making it super easy to dip in and dip out and take inspiration as and when you need it. This ebook needs to be sat on your desktop or even printed and sat on your desk. Download your free copy right now at ecmp.info/ebook. Get 2024's most valuable e-commerce ebook now, ecmp.info/ebook. And now to introduce our special guest. Guha is the founder at Asan Cup, who are on a mission to eradicate period poverty and tampon waste with their innovative reusable menstrual cup. Designed and patented whilst Ira was a graduate student at Harvard, the business launched in 2021 and they now serve around 10,000 customers a month via their Shopify site, Amazon and wholesale. Hello, Ira.
Hi, Chloe, and I'm super excited to be here.
Very cool to have you on the podcast. What I know of your story is very cool and intriguing, so I'm looking forward to getting into it. But first off, how did you get started in e-commerce?
So I wish this was a straightforward answer. Like, I've always wanted an e-commerce store, but it is the most roundabout, organic kind of random accident that could have happened. I actually became very obsessed with the topic of period poverty. So I grew up in Bangalore. That's a city in South India. I moved to the UK when I was 18. But on a trip home to visit my parents over Christmas, I think it was around 2015 or 2016, a cook who was working in my mum's house had stopped coming to work. And I just rang her to figure out what was wrong. And, we thought she was ill. And she actually had these horrendous rashes from sanitary pads, like low quality sanitary pads that had been given out. And she showed me the pads that they were using and they genuinely looked like bricks. And, I couldn't believe she was using them. And living in the UK, I happen to be a menstrual cup user. For listeners who don't know, a menstrual cup is a reusable period product. It's a really convenient and safe alternative to tampons and pads. So I actually showed her my cup and I was like, have you ever seen one of these before? And she was very intrigued, and I bought her one. And then amazingly, she just took to it and could easily work and started asking me for more. And every time I would travel home from the UK to India, I would carry like 10 or 15 period cups with me and literally just distribute them to women I knew. And this was honestly going on for years. And then fast forward a couple of years, I had quit my job and I was doing a master's in social impact at Harvard. And I had to make a model in my finance class. And I just suddenly thought, gosh, I've just been handing out these menstrual cups. I'm going to make a model for a neat little menstrual cup business. And then when I had to actually figure out how I'd start selling, that's when I came across D2C. And that was in about 2020 when it was just so easy to set up your own Shopify website. So I made my own product. My first customers were my friends. And then because of the mission of how I had started with this community in India, I launched at the very beginning with a buy one, donate one Shopify store. So I promised all my customers that if you buy a product from me, I'll donate one to someone who can't access period products. And that message just really seemed to catch on, and that's how we started to grow.
It's interesting, isn't it, how the desire to solve the problem kind of comes first, but then it also becomes an integral part to how you stand out in the market and how you bind your customers to you and get the referrals and get the buzz. It's kind of beautifully circular. The purpose begins the business, but then becomes a really critical part to bringing the customers into the mix. Is that something you found?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's really cool about Asan is that because we started with the purpose, it was never an afterthought. Like, I think you've got a lot of e-commerce stores today where, you're buying, a jacket, and then when you check out, it says like, oh, did you know that we're going to plant some trees? Or like, did you know that you can give an extra £1 as a donation? But I think that kind of just gets lost in the noise these days because everybody's doing it. And I think what's really cool about Asan is because it's a one for one, that like every time I buy a product, one is getting gifted for free. But it's also like I think we've been able to use like the imagery in our content in a really powerful way because we've captured like so many testimonials of women in rural India and rural Africa and how they're benefiting from these products. And I guess because of digital and e-com, like you can speak so directly. So you really know, where your donation is going.
So let's explain the business as it is currently. Where in the world are you based as a business and where are you currently selling to?
So we are a UK headquartered business and we sell on Shopify as well as a couple of other platforms here in the UK. I have a team in India of 8 people. So most of my team is in India, and we also have a Shopify store in India, which is actually a great market for e-com for anyone thinking of exploring. And our revenue from a Shopify perspective is actually split pretty equally between the UK and India. We also sell a bit on Amazon, and then we have a wholesale business, which is very much where the social impact side of our business is. The wholesale business sells at scale to institutions in India and Africa that include factories with female workers, schools, nonprofits that work in women's health. And the wholesale side of the business, again, is something that grew very organically from the donations I was talking about. So with my Shopify store, when I had the buy one, donate one, when I was starting out, I was selling 1,000 cups and donating 1,000. But then the people I was donating to actually came back to me and said, hey, we can raise the funds for 10,000 or 20,000. And that's how I started a wholesale channel as well.
So you're selling to the people you were trying to donate to?
So it's interesting because here in the UK, you wouldn't really have like a school necessarily or a workplace buy period products on behalf of the entire workforce. Like say you go to the Google office in London, they're not going to buy menstrual cups for every woman at Google. But if you think about the female workforce in the global south, very often working in large factories or in agriculture, there's actually an incentive for the factory owner to buy the period products because it really increases productivity, because the solutions that they have at the moment are so poor, right? Like if you're using cloth rags or really bad pads, you're probably not even going to work on your period. So local governments, local nonprofits actually will purchase the period products for these communities. So we might not necessarily be selling to a woman in a village, but we might sell 1,000 products to her employer.
And of course, your solution to the problem is better than most because it's reusable.
Exactly. So just going back to the product, one Asan menstrual cup is reusable for 10 years, and that's equivalent to 2,500 pads or tampons. So whether you're a D2C consumer in the UK or you're receiving it via a donation in, Tanzania, the point is this product is going to last you for 10 years. So you're going to save a huge amount of money.
And you also now have so you started with the period poverty purpose. You've also got quite a big purpose around the sustainability and the waste and the landfill. At what point did that come into the mix for you?
It's very much another happy accident, I would say, in that we started to solve period poverty, but it just so happens that a reusable product is always going to be the most economical one as well. And I think, it's interesting with e-com because I think different markets and different cultures, different messaging works. And what we found is that the sustainability messaging works really well in the UK because that's top of mind for a lot of consumers who want to shop more ethically, who are questioning the stuff that they put in their own bodies. We're talking so much about what goes into our food, ultra processed food. And now we're starting to talk about what goes into tampons, which is bleach and pesticides. And the fact that, thousands, if not millions of tampons end up on UK beaches every year. So from a messaging perspective, actually, we noticed that while in India, affordability and period poverty was the messaging that was resonating, in the UK, so the sustainability messaging was resonating because affordability is less of an issue. So we kind of look at where we're operating and tweak the messaging of our landing pages and our ads and everything to kind of go along with that.
And then the other thing I wanted to really talk to you about was range expansion. Because a lot of people go, right, okay, I've got the menstrual cup. Where do we expand this? Because even going into reusable period pants would be a weird expansion, because it wouldn't necessarily make sense. But you've even gone as far as a journal. So how have you handled and an app, let us say, as well? You've even got a mobile app. So how did you plot and decide and develop your product range?
So firstly, I think this is such an important question because if you're trying to sell a sustainable, reusable product, the downside is you don't have repeat customers. It's really hard to focus on things like LTV, because people buy from you once and they're sorted for 10 years, right? And I think, to be honest, it's been quite a tricky balance of looking at the commercial factors of getting people to spend more and come back to your store, but at the same time, staying true to your brand and true to your purpose. I know that as a founder, I would never sell pads of tampons because it just completely compromises everything that my business stands for. So at the same time, knowing that I have to drive order value somewhere, we really just went back to our customers to think, number one, what are they buying from other people that they could be buying from us? The first thing we learned is that a lot of them are using harsh commercial soaps on their menstrual cups, which are damaging not just the cup, but your own body when you insert it. So we developed a super natural cleanser. One drop of the cleanser will clean your cup and is really safe for you as well. I think 2/3 of people who buy the cup buy the cleanser and they tend to replace it every 6 months. So that's great. Second thing we found out that people were using, especially teens, was lube to insert the cup. So people were even using things like coconut oil, which is not very safe. So again, we designed a lube that is water-based, but compatible with silicone menstrual cups. So that was us trying to, and we're also doing, a bit more product development. We're working on a really effective sterilizer, things around cleaning the cup. On the other hand, what we heard from our customers was, and this might be slightly interesting for some of, the listeners of your podcast, but when you use a menstrual cup, it's quite a personal experience of getting to know your body. But the first time ever, you really see like how much flow you have. You can measure, on the first 2 days, I've got a really heavy period, and then I've got a really light period. And these are things that if you use a pad, you don't really know because you can't measure it. And there was something around getting to know your body and getting to know your cycle a bit better, and, wanting to understand that rhythm of, the highs and lows of your menstrual cycle, that led us to think, maybe we need to go in a direction of understanding yourself better, and empowering people to understand themselves better. So we applied to Innovate UK for a grant, which we won, to build a menstrual cycle tracking app that has a carbon footprint calculator within it that tells you the carbon footprint of your period products every month. So say you switch from tampons to the Asan cup or even period underwear, the app will not only track your cycle, give you insights, it will also say, hey, Chloe, did you know that, over the last 3 months, you've stopped 500 tampons going to landfill, and that's equivalent to this much carbon emissions. So it really it's building community, it motivates our consumers. And then, there's this real Gen Z trend of physical journals we noticed in our research. So we took all the good stuff from that app and also tried to make a physical version of it, where if you want to be completely digital free, but have a space where you can track your flow and learn about your body and get some insights, we've designed a really beautiful journal. So it's all learning from our customers and leaning into how they see our brand moving and kind of going in that direction.
It is so clear in how you talk about the business, how much it's all about understanding the customers and hitting those two key parts of purpose, the sustainability and the period poverty alleviation. Don't even know if that's the word. We'll roll with it. So how much in your marketing do you use? So this is let me preface this with, this is a question I'm always pondering, is how much we use sustainability and purpose in the West, I suppose, to drive sales in our marketing messages versus how much we use the product and the features, the benefits, the pricing, all those kind of things. Do you find, I will get this to a question, I promise. Do you find the purpose element of the business is what brings people to you? Is it something that makes them feel good post-purchase? Is it important in getting the conversion rate up on the website? Where do you see that purpose message fitting in the customer journey?
So for us, purpose is definitely bottom of funnel, because to draw people in, top of funnel, it's all about you. How can you benefit? All of our winning ads and creatives and landing pages are around your pain point around periods, because periods are ridiculously painful, right? We all know that. So why aren't we talking about this? You've been using pads for the last 10 years and they're giving you rashes. And these are the messages that draw people in. But I also think, just being from an ethical perspective, I want to sell products that improve people's lives. I don't want to guilt people into buying things to be sustainable or buying things to give that they could give to charity to do that, right? So top of funnel is absolutely around the problem that the customer is facing. But then when they get to know more about the brand, that's through our email funnel, through, I think it's the fourth or fifth images in our product carousel. That's when they get to know about the buy one, give one and the sustainability benefits. And then we also have upsells like donate another cup, for example. And, very often you find people purchase a cup and then donate a couple. Or people who purchase one from us will come back a few months later to donate a few. So I think it's something that keeps them sticky with the brand and leads them to refer us to other people. Definitely, if they're doing a competitive analysis, let me look at 3 period cups and choose which one I want to buy, they would probably go for Asan because we have that buy one, donate one angle as well. But it's definitely conversion as opposed to top of funnel.
I love your answer to that. Thank you for sharing it in such great detail. I shall continue to ponder, but because it always seems to be it fits at different places in different buying journeys. And what's got you excited about the coming 12 months, couple of years in the business?
I think there's so much happening with product development, definitely, that we're really excited about, expanding the range, looking at new markets. So we just got our ISO 13485, which is the medical device approval to launch in the US, because bizarrely menstrual cups are unregulated in the UK. Anyone can put anything into one, which is, kind of crazy. But in the US, you do have to go through the FDA process, which we've now got the clearance to do. So really excited about that. And then also really excited about growing our wholesale social impact program. We've recently won a really great grant from the Malago Foundation, which is an American foundation that actually sponsors both for-profits and non-profits, to really increase their social impact. So they're going to help us reach out to more partners in India and Africa with our social impact. Ultimately, our mission is to end period poverty and tampon waste. And those are just huge, like enormous global issues. And we have to, build partnerships to achieve that. But it's definitely not like 2 years and I'm going to close my e-commerce store, because there's a long, long way to go.
E-commerce Master Plan is supported by some of the greatest companies in the e-commerce sector. Here's a reminder of who they are.
Have you yet downloaded our ebook? To celebrate reaching episode 500, we've created an epic e-commerce success-focused ebook for you, packed with 500 top tips about how to make your e-commerce store more profitable, featuring the advice of many, many past guests alongside industry experts and many of you as well, our listeners. I've checked every single tip and organised the whole thing into sections for you, making it super easy to dip in and dip out and take inspiration as and when you need it. This ebook needs to be sat on your desktop or even printed and sat on your desk. Download your free copy right now at ecmp.info/ebook. Get 2024's most valuable e-commerce ebook now, ecmp.info/ebook.
It's time for the top tips round.
Okay, I love this section because it gives me and our listeners some really quick ideas for taking our businesses to the next level. Ira, are you ready for the top tips?
I think so.
Awesome. The book top tip. If everyone listening to this podcast agreed to take Friday off and read a book to make their business better, which book would you recommend?
So the book that prepared me for launching a business, and it's not a self-help book or one of those like preachy kind of motivational books. It's quite geeky. It was the textbook of my finance class at Harvard, and it was called Financial Intelligence by Karen Berman and Joe Knight. I swear this book will change your life, because it's literally just the basics of accounting, like profit and loss versus cash flow, but explained in a really fun way with case studies. And I think when you start your own e-commerce store, it is so important to have like a really good grip on your cash flow, know what's coming in and out. And I've always had that, and I think it's literally down to this book.
So, Ira, are you recommending a fun accounting book that you got from a finance postgrad class at Harvard? That seems impossible.
It's really like, if it makes finance and accounting as fun as it could possibly be made. Let me put it that way.
We'll take it. Thank you. Okay, the traffic top tip. Which marketing method do you either prize above all others or think doesn't get the press it deserves?
So my answer to this is infiltrating neighborhood WhatsApp or Facebook groups. I still don't know how exactly to do it, but every single time Asan has achieved this, it has been mind-blowing. We had one woman recommend us in her neighborhood group somewhere in Scotland, and I think we had like 50 orders from the postcode of 3 streets in a couple of minutes. And, it's really hard to tell people to do this, but the levels of trust in these groups, because people don't feel as if they're being sold to, on Instagram, you're always being sold to. We had another example where if someone writes us an amazing 5-star review, like one of those really long reviews, we send them a thank you and we give them a 50% off code. Someone went and put this code on Mumsnet. And again, that day we got like hundreds of orders. And if you think of the customer acquisition cost, it's 0, right? Someone's putting a code on Mumsnet. So infiltrating these amazing trusted groups of mums or friends or neighborhood, I mean, it's hard to do, but when it happens, it's gold.
I love the fact there was probably someone in your warehouse going, there's something weird going on in Scotland.
In a tiny, tiny postcode. Yeah.
Something weird going on. What a brilliant tip. Love that one. Okay, the tool top tip. Maybe a collaboration tool, a social media plugin, a phone app, or just a way of working. Is there a cool little tool you use that makes you and your team more efficient from day to day?
Not a very interesting answer is the to-do list on the Notes app. Even if I talk to you just now and you recommend something, I just have that instinctive thing that I'll put it down immediately and then tick it off at the end of the day, and it's really helpful. And then I've been trying a few AI tools for my email inbox. I'm trying Flickr at the moment. I don't know if you have a recommendation, but something to help me deal with the barrage of millions of emails a day.
I am scared of AI in my inbox, I'll be honest. So I have no tips to add to that one. I would love to hear if you find one that really works. Mine seems to be to have multiple email addresses, which kind of compounds the problem, but also helps segment to some extent. But yeah, email management is a challenge. Yeah. Carbon top tip. What's your favourite way to reduce the carbon footprint of an e-commerce store?
So what we really try to do is warehouse locally and, to the extent possible, even package locally. So we will manufacture, 100,000 Asan cups, but never package at the source of manufacturing. We will then transport to as local as possible and then package in a warehouse. Now, the UK is a relatively small country, but if you think about India, which is a massive country, it makes a lot of sense to have at least 5 warehouses where you can, package and then store locally. So then when you're doing the last mile distribution, your carbon footprint is a lot lower.
I like that. So not only transporting the bit that needs to be transported of the product.
I mean, you can print packaging anywhere in the world and it's going to save you cost.
Yeah, and it's going to be exactly the same. You don't need to ship boxes around the world.
Exactly, which have air inside them, right?
Yeah, I love that tip. Thank you very much for that one. And all of them, obviously, thank you for. Ira, before we say goodbye, the audience need to know where they can get in contact with you and your business. So could you please let them know?
The name of our business is Asan Cup, and Asan actually means easy in many different languages because our mission is to make periods easy. You can find us at asancup.com. So that's asancup.com. And on Instagram, TikTok, it's Asan Cup.
There you go. Simple as that, everyone. Ira, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been brilliant learning about your business and how you bring the purpose and the sales and all those different channels together. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Chloe.
What a fascinating business journey there. And I love how sorted she is in terms of how they use their purpose and their story within their marketing funnel. And that wholesale method of selling via wholesale to the people they most want to help is kind of brilliant and enables them to have such a bigger impact than if they were purely just doing the buy one, get one or buy one, give one opportunity. Really fascinating chatting to Ira there, and I wish her and her business all the best. You can get your hands on our notes from this episode, including the top tips and links to the things we mentioned, by heading over to ecommercemasterplan.com. You can also use our direct episode short links. Just put ecmp.info/the number of this episode into the URL bar and you'll be redirected straight to the right episode page. When you get to the website, you can also add yourself to our email list so you don't miss out on any of the other things I share to help you improve your business. Now, if you liked this episode, then make sure you go and check out episode 492, where I'm chatting with You Underwear's Sarah Jordan, who also has a business that's very much about period poverty. But we were talking about how she is, about lots of things, including how she is switching the USP of the business from being sustainable, and they are a crazy level of sustainability business, into going back to really focusing on their purpose with the Ugandan period poverty. So really, if you like this one, you will love my chat with Sarah. So that's episode 492, Sarah Jordan from You Underwear. Now, if you want to hear more about Shopify stores and dive into some of those, then go to ecmp.info/Shopify on the website. Okay, thank you for tuning into this and every episode that you do of the E-commerce Master Plan podcast. We bring you a new interview every week because I want to inspire and help e-commerce business owners to succeed and thrive with your businesses, including becoming more sustainable and purpose-driven. So if you know someone this show can help, please tell them to listen to the E-commerce Master Plan podcast. I hope you have a brilliant week, and don't forget to keep optimizing.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce master plan podcast. Find out more at ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast.
It's time to download our 500 top tips to make your e-commerce business more profitable ebook. Go to ecmp.info/ebook now.